to echo what Carlos just said. We're normally in active clothes on Saturday mornings with Runners High. Even through our Health is Wealth events, we've incorporated running or some type of movement. But this year, Carlos did bring up this great idea of like having a conversation on food and how it correlates with our health and how important it is. So I think this is really cool. So also having these awesome panelists that are part of this world and that can share a little more knowledge for us to kind of be more aware and more knowledgeable about this topic. So thank you, Carlos, and thank you all for being here.
I'll go ahead and kind of give an intro and bring up our panelists and tell you a little bit of why I am inspired and wanted to have these people on this conversation in particular. So I guess we'll start with our panelists. First up, I'll choose Carlos because he shares my name. If you want to come on up. So Carlos is one of the co-founders, co-owners of Taco. They are a vegan taqueria. A lot of you guys in this room probably know them, probably love them, probably have tried their food. So it's really awesome to bring them up and just share their story. As I got to know Carlos through, being in the cannabis industry and things like that, I learned the really awesome story behind Tacos al Hongo Mágico, and I think it resonates with a lot of us, just about our culture and how food, although it's medicine, some food can be detrimental to our health, and so we really have to be mindful and cognizant of that. So through learning that story, I just got inspired and I wanted to share that story with the community. So here we are doing that. So give it up for Carlos from Tacos al Hongo. We'll bring up Royce from Moonchild Infusions. If y'all don't know Royce, he's a co-founder. They are mushroom mycologists. They grow beautiful, incredible medicine. I can tell you from experience. It's fire. But yeah, mushroom cultivators, super knowledgeable about all things mushrooms. I always learn something about mushrooms, and I have a pretty good wealth of experience with mushrooms. But it's important to educate yourself and just know what it is you're putting into your body and the ways that they can impact you. So I'm grateful to be in community with these awesome people and to have them on part of this conversation. And I hope you guys all can learn something interesting about mushrooms and how we're trying to demystify, and just advocate for natural medicines. Next up, we'll do next up, we'll go with Johnny. So Johnny from Mojo's 420. I'm sure everybody in this room is So Johnny's another person that I'm grateful to have in my community. We met at a random cannabis networking night where I knew he was going to be the speaker, and I oftentimes, or especially then, don't see a lot of Latino male faces on anything in cannabis. So when I saw that a Latino brother was going to be talking about their experience in cannabis, I just had to show up and support. And the things that he said on that night resonated with me very deeply. We had a great conversation on that evening, and then just have continued to flourish into a really cool friendship and partnerships and so cultivator, educator about cannabis and other all things plants. So like I said, similarly, I learn something new all the time from this individual, and mostly about weed. So I think it was important. He's got a great story as well, a great background. So I want you guys to hear about that. So yeah, give it up for Johnny. All right, next we'll bring up Dan, the man. Dan represents Grow Model Chicago. Dan's a garden. Many of you guys probably have taken a dab from him. But yeah, another great homie, person that's just been in the community, that's turned into a friend and collaborator. Really poignant and really inspiring about his ideas around food sovereignty and how we need to be in control of our journey through this life and our food and things like that. Now more than ever. So yeah, Dan's a really cool homie, and he's got a really cool platform, and so I'm glad to have him here to be, sharing his story about his food journey. So give it up to Dan. Last but certainly not least, I didn't realize I think I'm doing best for last. That's my mentality. So we'll bring up Melissa from No Bad Fruit. So as you guys have seen her incredible art, she has a great story as well about food waste. another person that inspires me through their work to just be more mindful of, you know, our community and our food landscape, etc. So really grateful to have her speaking again. I saw her speak on a panel, I think, last week, and it was really awesome. She shared a lot of really good, you know, points about her work. So I'm glad to bring this to our community here at Runners High. Give it for Melissa. And now I've talked enough. If you know me, I like to talk. So we're gonna have our moderator, Silasay, come up. A really dope creative and DJ. Give it up for her that a DJ and creative. Very passionate about cannabis as well. Very. This is awesome. I love it. But yeah, very passionate about cannabis. She is also a vegan. So, you know, when we connected recently, we just found that there was a lot of synergies. We had a lot of things in common in the way we think about cannabis and food and music and lots of things. So, you know, I thought it was a good opportunity for me to literally pass the mic, pass the torch, and let someone else lead the conversation with really great people. And that was cool because I get to be in the audience here and really, you know, take in this conversation. So yeah, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Sila. I appreciate all of you guys for being here and taking the time to, not only these guys, but everybody here, taking the time to want to, you know, grow this community and learn and support about what it is we all do in this space. So yeah, I'll go ahead and pass the torch to Sila if you want to give yourself a little more intro, and then we can, you know, jump into the panel. Thanks, y'all.
First off, let me ask about the mic. Where do is it right here?
So the mic is connected to the camera.
Are we at a good level right now?
Yeah.
And I should pass it to everyone, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. First off, I'll say live.
Say live.
Yeah, it's all right. I am very interested in being on this panel because I am actually a master healer as well. This past summer, I broke my leg on July 2nd in 2 places, broke my ankle, dislocated my knee, my hip, and I was able to heal myself within 18 days. So I was walking, and the doctors were kind of like amazed because I'm older than what I look. So they were like, how are you able to do this? So part of it was I fasted 6 days, and part of it was master healer, gullah geechee, both sides. Grew up with someone who was born in 1901. So I was able to go into the woods and do ritual, and then the next day I could walk. So I'm very excited to hear what all of the panelists bring to the situation because this is an issue that's very dear to my heart. So we'll get into it. Yeah. First question. And each person please 1 to 2 minutes. The question is, what's your name and briefly tell us about your brand?
Hi everyone, my name is Carlos Luna, and I am the co-founder of a local mining called Arcadia. I don't know who's been able to see the back of Carlos' shirt there, but it says, you know, all mushrooms are magical. Some have different effects, that's okay, right? But they're all magical, and you know, specifically our brand, the local mining called Arcadia, I'd like to highlight that we found that mushrooms are not very common in their many forms, in their many strains, in their many benefits, right? And so when I had to go through a transition into a plant-based journey, I was still in the mentality that there was something missing in my food, right? I didn't want to just eat salads. And so when we found mushrooms and how similar they can be to some of the aspects of the dining experience that I was missing, it's like, wait a minute, these things are great. And so we were able to find a lot of diversity within the mushroom kingdom that met different parts to that dining experience. So that's something that we try to bring within Local Market. So we were fortunate to have space at X Market Food Hall that gave us the opportunity to play with more mushrooms, play with them in ways that we hadn't really thought of before. And so our brand is really that, is to demystify that culinary mushroom to people who may not have been open to that experience previously.
Hey guys, a lot of us have met. I am Maurice Laurie. I'm the co-founder of Mushie Fusions. We are we're psychedelic integration coaches. We believe that integration starts from cultivation. So a lot of what we do focuses on being as transparent as we can about the growing process as it pertains to mushrooms. And then not necessarily demystifying my particular mushroom, but I do want to destigmatize it. People have a tendency to think that psychedelic mushrooms are something to stay away from, or that it can be kind of effects on a pharmaceutical, when it's definitely the opposite. It's definitely a sacrament. It's something to be respected and looked after. I think especially for Black and brown people, it's something that we don't practice often, or it's not something that's part of our culture, or it's kind of demonized within our culture. And I think it's something that we have to again kind of turn around. There's been a lot of benefits. I mean, mushrooms have saved my life. Yeah, I can go on about mushrooms. Yeah, like I just, if anything, I just want to make sure that I share the benefits that building a relationship with the mushroom can have, even if you don't take them. Just having a better understanding of who they are and what they are. I think it's kind of vital. Thank you.
Hey y'all, so my name is Johnny White. I am the co-founder of Mojo's 420, as well as Aim Higher Industries Incorporated. And Mojo's 420 is an cannabis education and consulting business. I came into it as a medicinal patient, so I'm not a lifelong cannabis user. I actually grew up on the other side of the cannabis argument. I was a dare kid, stayed on the drugs, joined the military, doubled down on that ideology. It wasn't until the conversations around cannabis softened that I became curious. My curiosity grew into a hobby. My hobby became a passion. The passion is Mojo's 420, as it is today. I recognize that the industry has a lot of opportunity for people to make money and for the economy and all of that, but I feel like the industry is moving perhaps too fast. The rate of educating our consumers is not keeping pace with the development of the industry. And I was the same way at first when I came into it, right? I was like, oh, industry, business, commerce. But then I realized, wait a minute, the people that I'm trying to get this product to don't really understand the product. And so it caused me to kind of like reassess the point of what it is I'm trying to do. So at large, with both of the companies, Mojo's 420 and Aim Higher Industries, my aim is to help consumers be better informed, not just about cannabis, but about the world around them. But since my journey began with cannabis, that's what has kind of like been the link with a lot of us and a lot of the collaborators here on this panel in this building. Nice to meet y'all.
I'm Danielle Saga and Lamar Collins as well, to the team here. Grow Mom Chicago. We're an agricultural platform. Our tagline is everybody needs a role model in the garden. We're what better garden than the city of the garden, aka Chicago. We want to really showcase all the awesome people that are planting abundance in this world. The gardeners, the farmers, the activists, the agriculturalists. We're taking advantage of the power of nature. We're really taking care of the people around us. So to me, that's something we should all celebrate. These are the people that we should be looking up to. So we're really about a platform about showcasing all that and just shouting it from the rooftops, like these people are cool and you should think they're cool. I already know they're cool. So like, I get all y'all to know they're cool. So that's really where we're at. We want to just be the cheerleader that's telling people, look outside, look to your neighbors, look to your uncles, look to your fathers, your mothers, and really look up to them because we have so much wealth in us in our environment and our community. So I appreciate being here.
Hi everyone, my name is Melissa. I'm the owner and creator of No Bad Crew. Some of you guys have visited my table. It's mainly art is the way I get my message out. So No Bad Crew, we spread awareness and education about food waste. We talk about the ins and outs of food waste, food hunger. We share statistics, how to better your grocery trips you know, writing down a list, or you know, when you go out to eat, taking leftovers so you don't waste food. Anything there is related to that topic we talk about. It started with digital art, but it's expanded to murals, apparel, polymer clay. I do 3D printing. I have little figurines. I kind of do a little bit of everything. But my approach with this brand was to create a very relatable and playful and youthful approach to the topic that's really ignored usually. A lot of people are either really scared about the topic, or they don't know about the topic, or they just don't know how it makes them feel about knowing that each and every one of us here in this room has wasted food, and probably just did last night or this morning, you know. And so each and every one of us goes through it, and it is a very touchy topic, but I've created a lane where it's more amusing and more non-judgmental, kind of a little bit of everything. So.
As you can see, every single panelist is dope. Like, every panelist is dope. So, Johnny, you mentioned that your well, this particular journey kind of started with you being on the opposite side of it. So, with everyone, what kind of brought you to the place that you're at now with your journey? So, we're going to start with ladies first. Melissa, sorry.
No worries. Can you repeat the question?
Sure. I said, what led you to your current journey now?
Oh,
Was there some type of opposition? Did it just come naturally? Was it something culturally and family? How did you arrive at this point?
okay. So I'm originally from Southern California, and I say that because I was around fields, farms and fields everywhere, every corner. I was able to firsthand see the farmers out working every morning. So I was really exposed to that at a very young age, and being really close to the border of Mexico as well. I have family in Mexico, and I would always go over. And I'm assuming some of us have maybe been there before, and it is a very different lifestyle on how things are lived, the way life is over there. You know, as a Mexican, a lot of our culture, we use the resources that we're given. We don't have everything that most Americans might have, or white people might have. And so we really use the resources that we're given, and that mentality and that movement really stuck with me when I was younger. My parents would always tell me, you know, this is what we're eating. If you don't like any of the food, you're not eating. You know, we can accommodate to you. I'm one of 4 kids in my family, and my parents were like, look, if you don't want it, or if you're picky, you're not eating today. You know, we don't have the luxury of buying you spaghetti, you tacos, and you burgers, or whatever the case. And so there were times when I was like, you know, I don't like when my mom would make liver. Some of you guys might like liver. I don't like liver, and like I had to eat it because otherwise I'm gonna starve for that night and freaking be dramatic and be like I'm dying. But I had to eat that, you know. And so being raised like that, of being aware of, you know, no food goes down in the trash, and then also my grandparents composted. They grew their own food. They had chickens. They had everything, and so that was really instilled in me growing up. But I think the last like push of why I got into this was going to college. A lot of college students are going through food hunger, and this is really not talked about in universities and at the higher level of education, but a lot of those schools throw out their food instead of just give those to the students. And I think going through that really was eye-opening, and that was like the last straw. And I was like, I need to make a brand that not only am I passionate about, but solves the issue in this world. I don't want to oversaturate the world with a brand that might be already existing, another clothing brand or another this or that. So I was like, you know, I need to figure out an issue and really hone down on it and figure out a solution that I'm passionate about, that has longevity, and that I can share with others. And so I would say those are the things that made me create this brand later on in life.
So for me, cannabis was really an accident. It's not something that I planned on ever. But learning to cultivate cannabis was really fun for me, and learning to be discerning about how I consume cannabis, like what I grow versus what I get at the dispensary, led me then to apply that same process, because I learned more about the soil and what goes into producing something that's healthy versus something that's not, and something that's very chemically altered or genetically modified, right? And I was like, wait a minute, the same applies to my bananas, to my apples, and to my, and then I started to, well, how do I control it, right? Because I learned how to control my medicine, right? Or at least to have what I needed when I wanted and how I wanted. But when I thought about it, I was like, if I can't get my food, if tomorrow Mariano's and Jewel and Pete's and all the convenience stores shut down, how many of us are going to be able to like get anything to eat? I don't know how many of you know how to hunt. I don't know how many of you know how to like clean your food and all of that, or to grow or to forage, or know the difference between a safe mushroom and a bad mushroom. But I was like, I need to start adding that type of education. Maybe not all of it, but at least enough so that I can survive, right? And that's what pushed me to say, you know what? Let me try to see if I can grow a potato. Because up to this point, I hadn't grown anything other than wheat, like to all the way to completion and harvest and consumption. So I was like, you know what? We were going through the pandemic, and I was like, okay, if I could at least figure out how to grow some potatoes and some tomatoes, I got French fries and ketchup. I can live off of that. And so that's how it started, right? Like I was like, okay, and then, but I felt more confidence because I had grown cannabis, right? I'm like, okay, I know the concepts. Just apply those concepts to something else and go from there. And I have a tendency to kind of like go at it like really big at first and kind of then scale back. But there's a lot of mistakes that are made, and those are where I learn the most, and that's kind of like where it's like pushing me to like the next level at this point.
I think that's a perfect segue to speak to Dan about the importance of agriculture in general and being able to cultivate things. What's the greatest superpower we have with agriculture?
I think it all has back to our connection to our ancestors. We all have, no matter where we're from. Yep. No matter where we're from, we all have connections to food. So the food originated in Europe, in Africa, in the Americas, or in Asia, we all have that divine connection to us. Maybe as people in the Americas, whatever, our connection to it. The corn, the peppers, the potatoes, all those things that are food that comes from here. So the idea of having that connection, it's untainted. It's like you and the universe. It's not someone telling you who you are, what you are, and you have that divine connection. So the idea that we can all tap into that, bring our ancestral food, share it on one plate, share it on one table, and now we're working together as BIPOC people. That is a revolutionary thing. Because at the end of the day, all of these colonial systems have not allowed us the autonomy, the agency, the empowerment of the food that gets to our table. So whether people are picking it right now in this day and age, people that we know who are picking it, the ones that are picking it in the creation of this nation, we realize that we are the people that are feeding this place. And they need us more than we need them, realistically. So the idea that we could all really appreciate one another and that gift, that divine connection, and take this to this future to a different place. So this is very vital.
Is it okay if I piggyback on something?
Sorry, I like stuff.
Panelists.
But I know what he said about the divine connection, right? And I would add to that there's also a very natural connection in terms of like a superpower, right? Because you learn to speak to the land, you learn to speak to the animals, the ecosystem, the bugs. Like I have a worm farm, right? I tend to the worms. Right? Like I feed you. We're all used to feeding our dogs, like cats and birds, right? I feed my worms. They're on my schedule. Like I got to make sure that I feed them. I take care of that because by taking care of them, they take care of the soil that helps me grow my food, right? And the part of kind of like that cycle. So not just like a divine power, but also like a natural power, an ability to communicate with something beyond, just each other, right? And then to harness that power for our health, growth.
that are deemed illegal. How are you finding balance with the messaging versus the magic of the plants that you represent and cultivate?
I feel like that's a neat question. Okay, give me the question one more time.
How are you finding balance between the messaging and how you use the magic of the plant that you've experienced yourself?
Okay. Yeah, so it's no secret that what I dabble into is a big F. I think navigating it in a way, it's been education first, honestly. And it's been organic. I think our journey started from, it started from a place of healing. Like, Moonchild didn't start to sell mushrooms to people. Like, that was never really the goal. It's just something that we kind of fell into. I was going through something personally, and that mushrooms helped me through a couple of things in life, really. When me and my partner got together, there was something that she was going through, and I felt that maybe mushrooms would help, us work through that, and it did. And we find ourselves holding space for more people who essentially just had the answers to their own problems, but for whatever reason couldn't get out their own way. So I think to answer your question, I think putting people first, putting out the clear intention to educate, reduce harm, just being in service to the community, I think, kind of alleviates a lot of the nuance of the business, because it's not run like another business. It's with consultants, with coaches, with mentors. There's so much more to it than just the mushroom. Did I answer the question? Okay. Okay, cool. All right, cool.
To a certain degree, I think it extends to me. I know cannabis is, but for me, I think first and foremost, it's that I understand that my self-accountability, right? Like my accountability to myself, my accountability to the plant and stuff that I keep for it. Then it's learning the history of it, right? Because too often we get into things without understanding the history, like how did we even get to this place? When we talk about like legal, illegal, right, wrong, this or that. Like, so it's understanding the history of it. And the truth is that once we peel back the layers of like regulation, laws, and what we've been told, and we start to get to the real story, we'll uncover that we've been lied to about a lot of things for a long time. And we're all victims of it, right? No matter how educated or how poor or how rich or any of that. And so once I learned that, it helps me to stand more firm in my accountability. So let the law come, let them do whatever. Like, I'll be accountable. If what it requires is me making a payment, if what it requires is me doing time, then that it is what it is, right? But I'm gonna stand firm in my accountability. And that's one thing that I had to come to grips, not just for myself, but for like the people in my life that care about me. And also tell them, hey, look, it is what it is. At the end of the day, I can prepare as much as I can for whatever legal ramifications. Because tomorrow we could, literally the laws are changing like as we speak.
Yeah.
From yesterday, today, tomorrow, who knows what the hell's gonna happen tomorrow. We'll just be deemed illegal for being from Chicago, right? Because somebody hates the city of Chicago, right? So I'm no longer like stuck in those definitions or those ideologies of what I'm supposed to be doing. And so being able to be firm in your accountability for your actions, and that's empowering to a way that talks about superpower.
Yeah, like that. I like to say, if you're looking to be governed, like it's illegal if you're looking to be governed, right? And I think a lot of us do things. We don't give a shit, someone else thinks about it, right? Like it's for me, it's a victimless crime.
Yeah.
And I think when we start talking about the amount of things that really don't hurt anybody, but we've been told that this is something bad, and we shouldn't do it, and we can't even enjoy the thing because there's so much paranoia around not what the thing will do to you, but what happens if I get caught with the thing.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like the penalty for it shouldn't be worse than the thing itself. It just doesn't make sense. So, you know, I think accountability is to the people. Like, that's what amen to that. I think being accountable to the people, it kind of cancels out the fear of getting caught, because I'm not accountable to the person that made it illegal. I'm accountable to the people that we help, that we support. Like, it's not about what they think about it, honestly. So, yeah.
You know, if I can, you know, the mushrooms that we promote are the culinary mushrooms, right, for their magic. But you know, I think it's all tied together in that we've been lied to, right? Dan, you mentioned where our food comes from, and you know, the pig and the cow are not from this continent, right? They came over on the ships with the conquistadors, right? And so, you know, the plant-based diet, like I would consider myself a vegan, but it grew out of, you know, my journey through health, right? And you know, all the misinformation that was, you know, around that, right? Because I went from an omnivorous diet to like, all right, I'm gonna try this vegan thing. And so I went to the store and got everything that said vegan. And then I said, well, what am I still feeling the same?
Yeah.
Right? And then I realized, like, oh shit, it's all junk food.
It's bullshit
Right? It's all
everywhere.
been processed, it's all junk food. So it's like, you know, an Impossible Burger, all right, same thing as the other burger, because it's just junk food, right? But then taking it a step back to the peppers and everything that was grown and seeing those effects, right, in me, in my health journey, right? I have not been in the hospital for my colon condition since 2021, and that's the longest I've gone without being in the hospital for like the decade before that, right? And so, yeah, thank you. And so that's one of those things that, you know, we've been told that, hey, you need to worry about where you get your protein from, but nobody ever worries about the fiber, right? Like, how do you get all that shit out? You know, literally, I'm sorry to put it that way, but it's, you know, until, you know, you almost lose your ability to, your body's ability to have that bodily function, and you don't know how important it is. And so, me having gone through that and seeing the positive effects of cutting out those things that were, you know, toxins in my body, right? And really the misinformation that happens around that, right? Because now if I try to promote that with people in my life who might be suffering different chronic illnesses, they say, well, it's a good thing that worked for you. And it's like, well, yeah, we're all individuals, but our bodies are a lot more similar than we're being told, right?
Yeah.
And they're different. And so, you know, really, that's one thing that we love about El Mágico, my beautiful partner and I, is this part of it, is the education part of it, right? How, you know, do you work with mushrooms in a way that make it so that you colonize your diet, right? Because mushrooms have been on this side of the world a lot longer than what we consider as traditional foods, with, you know, with beef and you know, pork, for instance, right? Sure, they might have eaten rabbits and they might have eaten these smaller games, but definitely was not such a pronounced part of the diet. And so being able to bring it back to that, and I think we'll see, you know, more people, you know, when people embrace that, they do see those positive effects very quickly. So you know, it's all about, you know, learning, you know, where things come from and going back, you know, going back to where the misinformation campaigns actually started, right?
Okay, cool. I think that we can all agree, audience and panel members, that food is a healing food. Okay, so what is everyone's go-to healing food or substance? I'll start. For me personally, I told you I'm a master healer. I come from a family of healers, generationally on both sides. One of my go-tos, and it may seem uncommon, but if anything goes wrong, I always get cream of tartar. And so I know cream of tartar is usually used to make meringue on pies, but cream of tartar has a very I guess you could say alkanizing effect, alkaline effect in the body. So if anything is imbalanced, you can take cream and tartar to get you back straight. So that is my tuck in the, anytime anyone has anything going on, I'm like, do you have any cream and tartar in your kitchen? What's going on? And yeah, so if you have anything going on, take teaspoon, tablespoon, cream and tartar. It'll help you balance it out unless you're allergic.
And that's on the shelf?
That is on the shelf.
Oh,
Yes,
spice.
and the spices.
It's a spice.
Like 3 drops.
Correct, thank you.
It's amazing for balancing things out. Yeah, literally take a
Shayla's.
teaspoon, tablespoon, drink some water. It'll change your life.
How often?
It literally depends on what you have going on. So if you're like really sick, you can take it like twice a day until whatever it is inside. But it's a wonderful healing food.
That's dope. I like kombucha. Kombucha and ginger. So I need to, I'm more of like a ginger and kombucha kind of person. I don't know what it is. Like, I think it's the, I like, again, mushrooms. Actually, you know what, and it's actually crazy. That's actually, I think that was the first mushroom I ever grew. I was making kombucha back in like 2000. Not gonna talk about that. I remember people looking at me crazy like, kombucha, what the fuck is that thing? You know, you showing them the slogan and everything. But
We like couple.
yeah, no, I got ostracized for that a little bit, but I think I was drinking kombucha. Like, if I get sick, like I'll drink kombucha for a week. Like, I'll just have nothing but kombucha. I love it. I don't know what to say about it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Y'all got that right.
We're going.
Well,
Back
we're going
first,
well.
then we're going back down.
My bad. My bad.
I don't think I have anything in my my sleeves quite like that go-to. Like I said, I think these last few years of this transition into a plant-based diet has made me really appreciate the just whole foods, right? Not unprocessed food, right? So basically things that come out of the front of the grocery store. And some people call them ingredients, and I just call them food. So it's like you can eat a lot of it raw, right? You can eat, all the fruits and vegetables you want, and you're not gonna gain any weight. You don't have to count those carbs. You don't have to do anything, right? So I think for me, I'm still working my way up to having something like that in my pocket. I am fortunate that I was born in Mexico. I come from a family that has been very intimate with homeopathic medication and treatments. And so that is something that, regardless of how anybody feels about it, it's worked for us, and so really, having those things that have demonstrated my whole life, the healing power of things that are natural, have only been reinforced to me to continue to explore with foods, and so that's what I'm doing right now.
So for me, I think the obvious answer is cannabis, right? But there's more to it. There's more to it, and I say that because, like, I'm a victim of like all the life. Like, I took it all for black seniors. So junk food, I grew up on it. It was my primary, and it didn't help that my mom coddled me, and my whole family was eating vegetable soup. I had a hot dog or something like that. But so I struggle even still, but I have learned that cannabis helps me to stay more balanced in my diet, to avoid those like spikes or those lows or whatever. And that's why, so it's more than just smoking the cannabis, it's smoking the cannabis to help me like kind of regulate that balance for myself in my daily diet. So yes, I still eat processed food because for as much growing as I can, the biggest success of my garden last year was like cucumbers. You can only eat so much cucumber before, right? So that's the next step, right? Variety of successes throughout the garden. So cannabis, yes, is the answer, but purposeful use of the cannabis to help me to not overindulge in the junk. And I recognize that by keeping a more balanced diet, I don't hit those spikes so much. And if I can connect the dots, the cannabis, the reason it does that is because almost all of the cannabinoids and all the terpenes
have anti-inflammatory properties for your body, right? So like understanding that and understanding what it is that I'm feeling helps me to know when and how to use cannabis, right? So yes, cannabis, but purposeful with intent.
Say garlic, like I'll wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
My dad will be like cooking. I'm like, I'm pretty sure you're just cooking garlic. I don't think there's anything else on that skillet, but like, that's so delicious. I just feel like that garlic and onions are really good. Like I would put them on anything. And same thing, you put a little honey in there, and you can put it all together. Like if you're not feeling good, I would put that. And it was just like those are those things where like that root vegetable where like taste it, it's delicious. Like it doesn't matter what you have, all this garlic. People are not going to want to be around me, maybe, but it's delicious. And I was going to say, like, paper rub on the feet, put your socks on. That's lovely. Right now in the season, like, it's beautiful.
I would agree with onion for sure. I like squeeze some lime and just take a chunk out of that one, the onion when you're not feeling good. You're good after that. But I actually haven't been sick in so long. I feel like I have a really good immune system, but I give all the praise to just eating whole foods, like Carlos said. The more variety you eat, the better your microbiome in your gut will be, and your health will be amazing. So just like, honestly, if you guys can do like, I can't remember the numbers, but like for fruit, for instance, if you have 20 different fruits in a week, you're good. You just do that. So just having variety, your microbiome will be more adaptable to illnesses. So I would say whole foods, and then cannabis for, I go through a lot of arthritis in my knees. I had 2 ACL and MCL surgeries on my left, and then my ACL is actually currently torn on my right. And I work out regularly, but once in a while I have like pain, and so cannabis is like the way. But whole foods for sure.
Make a painter of yourself for that.
Hey, what team?
No, I've been playing my entire life with soccer though.
I was like, what were you training? What were you doing?
She's getting ready for the Super Bowl.
Listen, gladiator over here. What we doing? Okay, so Melissa, since you were talking about your whole thing is like food, and since food is such a like hot commodity, I feel like food is one of those things that the powers that be are against us try to keep us away from good food because we'll be sick and then we'll need pharmaceuticals. What opposition have you come against in your work in terms of pushing a positive message around? Have you had any pushback or anything?
Some that stand out, I would say the first one is just being Hispanic. It is, so my message, like I mentioned, is food waste. Us Hispanics tend to make food for like 20 plus people for some reason, even though there's like 4 people there that we're gonna serve. So like, it's so hard for me to convince people that look like me to really downsize the amount of food that we're making and prepping. It's good if you make 20, like amount for 20 and you know that you're gonna eat those leftovers the entire rest of the week. But that's a huge issue that I go through is like really learning how to just make food for the amount that is there. Another thing is like Carlos's like mission is to find alternatives to regular meats. It's really hard to really push like the veggies and fruits in our culture when we're so like, I feel like, I mean, hopefully you guys can agree, but like I see our culture really meat heavy. Like meat has to be in all of our dishes, and there's no room for vegan options or alternatives. So I think pushing that mission as well of like eating more of produce rather than all this meat that tends to have high cholesterol or things that are bad for us is another hardship that I go through. And also just the fact of like I think the biggest issue I go through would be to be more conscious of food hunger. You would be surprised at how many of our neighbors, how many people you work with, how many people, if you go to a clothing store, how many other customers in that store at the same time as you, family members, friends actually go through food hunger. And it's sad. It's really sad. It's really scary. Nobody wants to admit it. No one's gonna be out here and be like, Dan, do you have any extra food? Like, I have no food in my fridge. Like, no one's gonna do that. But it's really creating that awareness and making it normal that, you know, we can be vulnerable with each other. And the good thing is, like, urban areas like Chicago are able to have farms and abandoned parks or abandoned lots. We need more of that. We need more authenticity, and we need more vulnerability. And I think that's an issue, is like, just share the food. If we have an abundance of it and you don't need it, or maybe, you know, the practice of feeling, not getting to when you're full, but like a little bit, like 80% until you're full, sharing that rest, that 20% with somebody else would be the biggest change. So I would say those three things is not overdoing it, like not overcooking the food amount that you need, sharing the food, and then just finding alternatives. Like I said, the microbiome is everything for you guys. Like my family history, I don't want to go into this, but my dad has had heart attacks. My grandpa had a stroke before, 2 strokes before he passed away. So a lot of heart issues are in my blood family for both sides. And so I prioritize my microbiome like every day. So I would say those are the issues I go through.
Mayor? I was gonna say, as a chef, and I feel like college would probably attest to this. I feel like culturally, food waste is almost like a staple. It's almost like they train you to have more than you need. Like, it's better to have more than you need and not have enough. You don't want to run out. You know, you don't want to make the people mad. And then I feel like then consumers come to the restaurant and they will be mad if you run out of something, right? And it's just like, when did the culture shift? When did the food culture shift from eating seasonal things, right, that might be in limited supply, to, oh, you can get everything all year round. Oh, you want strawberries in December? No problem, right? It's just, I think we're kind of spoiled when it comes to food. Don't know where it comes from, so we don't know what it takes to get it. So when we see it all year round, we just assume that it should always be there, right? And I think we have a consumer culture that's kind of spoiled. We have everything at our fingertips. And I would love to see more seasonal, a more seasonal culture come back into food. When we just start restricting people, it's like, that just don't happen. I'll let me admit, right? When it's in season, when it's the best. Like when I'm catering, people are asking, it's hard to cater for people when they're like, where's the meat? You don't need it, baby. If you needed it, I wouldn't put it there. But, okay, fine, I'll add it, right? And so now I have to build menus, so you have to build menus that are vegan based. But you can just throw a piece of meat on it and it's good, right? And it's, how do we educate consumers to adjust their expectation of what should even be available, right? Like, of course there's pesticides and other stuff on it. It's not even seasoned. So, yeah, I think that's, as a chef, that's always been my opposition in food, is just the culture surrounding it.
Can I add something? Another like statistic is 40%, 45% of the food in this world, specifically in the US, let's focus on that, gets wasted from the consumer. So the minute that you guys buy the grocery and take it home, 45% of all food waste is because of us individually. But let's not forget that food is wasted within the whole process of harvesting to getting to the stores. So, you know, whether the fruit didn't look good for the picker, it's left there and it's wasted. The distributors, the packaging, the travel, you know, and so I think you guys should really, like, these guys are all experts in what they do, and like I'm really happy that we have people like Dan that, you know, grow their own food, because we don't know if we're gonna be able to get those strawberries from the West Coast shipped over here, or bananas from Mexico. You know, with all those tariffs and everything going on, like we don't know if we're gonna have access to different varieties of fruits and produce. So it's important to grow our own here, but just being mindful of how many resources actually go into things: water, time, energy, travel. And so hopefully the next time you guys have fruit or food in front of you, like really cherish the hands that touched it, and just the resources that were put into it. Because the minute you throw that banana, that brown banana in the trash, all of that water is going down the trash. All of that, and it's all going into landfill, and we can go over that too. That's a whole other topic of gases and emissions, things like that. But you have an effect to this entire planet. So treat it like self-care, that you care about this planet by just eating what you need and just buying what you need.
So I think Johnny, you did the most on self-sufficiency with being like, can you hunt? Can you grow? Do you know the difference between a good mushroom and a bad mushroom? So my question is, for each panelist, in your individual field, how do you think that we can, what is the easiest step that we could, the first step I would say, towards self-sufficiency? What can we do individually to lead us to a better path or a better standing in that area?
I think that's a good question, and I think, we all touched on it in a different way here, is opening your mind to something new. You talked about having a consumer culture, and that really is a mentality when it comes to food, when it comes to everything in our lives. I look at some people's shopping carts and everything's in a box, right? Or everything's in a bag, and it's just like, man, it says food on the label, but it's not. It'll get you full, but it'll get you full of a lot of things that your body's really not, hasn't evolved to have in it. And so really being open to that, right? Of going a step back and what does my body really need, right? What does it really need, and what is it just being given? And I think once we start to differentiate those two things, we'll be in a better place to get to the point where we do that of growing potatoes and just catch up.
I think picking up a new skill, to piggyback up to Johnny's point, not picking up everything, but picking up a skill that's actually useful outside of the system, and actually sharing that with people. I find that the biggest issue, with fresh foods, people don't know how to use it. You give them a bucket of whatever, fresh stuff, and they just like,
What am I gonna do with that?
they throw it away instantly, right? Because they don't know what to do with it, and they're too ashamed to say that they don't know what to do with it. So yeah, I would say just being more getting the knowledge, knowing where the food comes from, and actually trying, like, grow something. It doesn't matter if you only know how to grow one thing. Know how to grow something, right? Food is something to barter with. Right? You know how to grow potatoes? Cool. I got tomatoes. Let's trade up, right? Let's barter. I think food is one of the most ultimate currencies. Right? You put your intention in it, you put energy into it, it's worth something. Right? But it only has a short lifespan, so it's like, use it. Do it. Right? Like, you have to me, it circulates more, right? You put energy in it, you get to it, you eat it, people got nourished by it, so I just think, just being more self-reliant with our food. With all our things, our mushrooms, our cannabis, all the things that we love, we just need to learn how to grow it, or at least understand how it's grown, so we can be a part of that culture.
I think that the approach needs to be planned, right? Your evolution into self-sufficiency, have a plan for what it's gonna be for you. And by that I mean, we all want different things from our lives, right? And it's funny because I just ran into this issue yesterday. Imagine if your cell phone, your Wi-Fi, all your electronics, right now, this instant, are done. How do you communicate with anyone that's not right here in case there's an emergency? What happens if tomorrow all the Marianos and all the Pete's and all the places you go, all the restaurants you go get your food just shut down, disappear? Where are you gonna get your next meal from? And I don't wanna be like doom and gloom and all of that. But what I'm saying is that we're living literally right now in a time where I don't wanna get too doom and gloom with all of that. But what I'm saying is that currency, what he just said, currency, the way we look at it, we're used to looking at it in terms of money, right? But currency, your value, like what can you contribute to the survival of yourself, your kids, your family, the people you care about, or your community, right? And you don't have to do it. You don't have to be a grower, a builder, a engineer, any of that. Do one thing and do it well, but do the thing that contributes in a way to something, like he said, away from the matrix, away from the system. Because when the system no longer works for you, when the system breaks down, and in fact, when the system turns against you out in the open, then you're gonna be at risk, because the things that you depend on are not gonna be easily accessible to you. So, the way I do it, the way I create my plan is I work myself backwards. Remember I said ketchup, and because that's like easy to me, right? Like I'm like, okay, I know how to do that, and I can do that for a really long time, right? Which that evolved now. Now it's my avocado tree and my lime tree that I'm keeping alive in my basement. Yes. But that's the plan, right? Like all of it takes a lot of work, right? All of it it's on top of your everyday life, on top of your job, your kids, your family, your school, all of that. Learning a new skill, it's like daunting, right? It's an overwhelming thought. But start. Start something. Take that first step. Even if that first step ends in like a failure, like shortly down the road, you're gonna learn something. You're gonna learn. And even if you're not the lead gardener or the lead farmer or the lead builder or the lead whatever, you're gonna contribute to that mission for the people that need it in the community, right? And what he was saying, barter, within the community, you're gonna learn how to survive. And the truth of it is that the ones that survive, if you look at history, if you look at all of recorded human history, the ones that survive are the ones that know how to operate in that low frequency and that like, to weather the storm. So be useful. Be useful for the things that matter. Remember, it's not about clothes, it's not about fame, it's not about the biggest car or the biggest house, because all of those things make you a target in time of crisis. So, what are you gonna do? How are you gonna survive? And how are you gonna keep the people that you love safe? Whatever the answer to that is for you, start taking the first step in developing that skill, building on that knowledge and being useful in the name of self-sufficiency.
That's why I'm gonna camouflage myself in the garden. There's all those blueberries, all those blackberries, now I can't find me. What I really love is like we've never been more connected, and there's never been more information at our fingertips. Like if you think about back in the beginning of all this, we've never been disconnected. Like I can like translate what you're talking about. I can empathize with your struggle. All these things can be connected. So to me, it goes back to the seed. Just pop a seed. Like if you know how to grow cannabis, you know how to grow a tomato. If you know how to grow a tomato, you know how to grow cannabis. Both of those plants grow exactly the same. So if you start with one, now it's the real gateway drug. Now you're either producing your own medicine or you're producing your own food. So just really appreciating the process. It's really not that hard. I think I love like picking flowers. It's like I picked these from my garden. I made these, and then you see people's heads, and they're like computing. They're like, well, "What you made? What does that mean?" It's like again to what we're all going to talk about is like because we're so far removed from the process. The idea that you can grow your own salsa, like I love that. Like you are telling people that it's possible. The same thing what Melissa was saying is like you're really valuing the water, the time, the effort, the sacrifice that the person has put into this, and now you're getting a lot more empathetic to the process. Your mind is gone, and you realize that we're part of this really intricate system, but together, like we are this microcosm. So just being able to do that again, same thing. We got cannabis, we got tomatoes, and we're gonna fuse them together, and we're gonna be, sated, and we're not gonna feel hungry. And now you're not my stranger. Now we're neighbors. Now we're collaborators, and now everything seems a lot less daunting when you know your city block, when you know people who are just doing the same thing as you. It's like we're already interconnected. Now there's not this doubt. There's not this thing of like, who can I trust them? The same thing that you're saying is a big target. Like I know what you're about. I know your struggle. I know your talents, your superpowers, and now we're coming together like the Avengers. Like
I feel like they all said it like really well. So I just piggybacking, I would just say to have the mentality of being a student. always learn. Dip yourself into new things, whether it's cannabis, growing your own food, whether it's growing like herbs, like that's kind of simple and usually really small. It takes a small space in your home. You know, just always be a student. We have Google, luckily, right now, so, and phones. So, like, use it. It's at your hands. You know, learn up on it. And I would say, always give yourself grace. It could be very overwhelming to want to make a statement in this world, or to make a movement, or this and that. Even with like food waste, when I guess I tend to inspire people when I tell them my mission, and they want to like go out and like throw all their bad stuff, bad food out, and start from scratch and start new, and be like, yeah, I'm not gonna waste any food. That's not the reality of it.
Right.
We're gonna mess up once in a while, and so you know, like they all said, like we're gonna make mistakes, but just have grace. Move at a small step pace, and you know, the small steps, the small changes will make a big impact. So yeah, they all pretty much said everything anyways.
As long as you have Google, buy the books with the info, put the books in the closet in the event that eventually you lose Google.
And also print out PDFs so you can have your own
Yes.
library.
Yes.
If in case something happens. So we have come almost to the conclusion of our panel, and we'd like to open up the floor to about 2 questions. So if you have a question for the panelists based on all the wonderful information that they've shared with us, please come here and I'll let you hold the mic. Oh, y'all shot today.
Do I have to say no?
No, I don't think it's
I actually just heard about this regarding sprouts. Are any of you familiar, and what do you guys think of that?
I don't know anything about sprouts.
You're talking about like microgreens, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So sprouts are like microgreens. They're basically stuff that you would use for your salads, stuff like that. They're very nutrient dense, and they don't require a lot of space. Like that little setup that he has right there, that's with the shelves, you could grow a lot of sprouts, a lot of microgreens in that space. And like I said, they're very nutrient dense. So, and they grow quickly. Like
Yeah.
10
within
days.
7 to 15 days, you'll have like an entire harvest. So the good thing about that, it's low energy with regards to the lights. They don't need to be like really expensive lights, and you can grow a lot.
Yeah.
It's a great segue into these workshops.
Right? Any more questions? I have space for one more question.
I will also ask that, like, if you have cilantro, you can utilize the stem part. A lot of people do that out, like chop that up. And
Use that too.
and it's, you have more herbs and more variety.
Any more questions? I think that's gonna be the end of our panel. And before we get out of here, I'm gonna pass the mic to everyone. Please breathe 30 seconds. Give us your tag on Instagram so everyone can follow you and connect.
Awesome, thank you everyone. We are Tacos, El Longo Mágico on Instagram, and I think TikTok, we also have that.
Oh, you gotta spell that out. You gotta spell that out.
So you're looking at West.
No, don't worry about it.
Tacos, ELHO, GICO. El Longo Mágico.
I actually kind of feel like I know all y'all here, so y'all know where to find me. If I'm not found, unless I'm gonna be found.
Please.
You can find us on Instagram at Mojos, MOJOS_420, as well as aimhigher_INC. Or you can check out our website, www.mojos420.com.
Find us at Grow Model Chicago on YouTube and Instagram. Please follow us. Love to have you on.
And I'm only on Instagram at NoBadFruit, or my website at NoBadFruit.com. And also, please take a poster on that high table. It has all of the information from today's event. They're free for you guys, so please grab one.
Yeah. Give us our